Hello everyone, welcome to the second tutorial video for the BIS Radical series. We are here at SEBRING International Raceway in beautiful Florida, and I will give you a guided tour with the SR10 around the racetrack. So, as we're on the backstretch, I'm an out lap and a lap in. For qualifying, your faster laps are going to be lap 2, 3, not lap 0 and lap 1. So now I'm going to start my lap 2. I'm going to stay quiet for a lap. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a run here, and then I'll debrief the lap. So let's look at the lap. To begin with, if you want to give yourself a run for qualifying, just know that you're allowed to go all the way till the cones. If you get past the cones, I don't know if it's immediately after the cones. I try not to test out the theory. I think it's half the car past the cones, but I know that if you go past the cones in some region, you got to slow down. You can go past the white line, just don't go past the cones. And then if we look at my faster lap, so as I said, lap 1 is always going to be a few tenths slower than lap 2. So if you want to send a good one for Quali, save your tires for the first 2 laps and then send it on lap 2. T1, there's a dent in the right side wall. It's a good turn-in indicator. But also we can see it from here, and I know it's very difficult to project your eyes all the way there, but your apex is near this hanging cone on the fence. The trick to T1 SEBRING is just like Motorsports T2, is controlling the pitch of the car and try not to over brake the car so that you have too much angle and turn in, and then mid corner, since you release the brakes too aggressively, because you have too much angle, you start understeering. If you understeer mid corner of this corner, starting right about here, there's a lot of bumps. So you'll understeer until the bumps, and the moment your front axle sees bumps, it just snaps around you. So you want to avoid any form of understeer. So if I play it real time, or actually I'll play it slow motion to talk at the same time. This is, well, I'd say very light braking. This is braking to kill off the speed, but the moment I turn in is very light braking from there. Light braking, control the steering, control the angle, light braking, coasting, braking. You know, I'm brushing the brakes all the way till the cone, and then picking up the throttle before the cone. There's a lot of rotational throttle in this car, So don't be scared to overslow the car just a bit and use the throttle to rotate your car instead of setting it too fast and understeering mid corner. Oh, do it all the way till the curb, but with the new update, I recommend to not touch the sand because it will slow you down. Into T3. Um, T3 is quite tricky because those cars, their brakes are not as good as other cars on the system. So the braking zones in this car are actually longer, and since you're coming off a right side corner, which is technically T2 here, um, you need to align your wheel straight pretty fast. And I see a lot of people also just hugging the line here. If you hug the line, you'll have to turn right a lot right before you brake, and you might still have weight shifted on the left side of the car, which will cause lockup or braking instability. So try to align yourself to the right side white line as much as possible. And then the moment I touch the brakes, I transition into opening up my wheel. A bit too aggressive because I'm still turning and then braking, so that's not optimal. And as you can see on the right side of the car here, there's a gap which closes as I approach the braking zone. So I'm actually braking away from the corner. So I'd recommend to not do that, to align yourself with the white line as soon as you can. And the moment you hit the brakes, it should be straight line from there. There is a crest in the middle of this corner, right here. There's a crest spanning the length of the track. Will give you a lot of rotation as you go on top of it. Right about here. Oh, sorry, misclicked. So it's just going slow mo like this. Right about here is where you'll start getting a kick of rotation. That's why my brakes, as I trail brake, there's like this big drop, and then I'll hold a little bit, and then I drop again. I'm using the track to oversteer my car. I'm not using the brakes as much as I would if the track was flat, just because I don't want to get loose. It's very easy to get loose entering this corner and end up back into the wall here. And the suggested apex of this corner is at the end of it. It's the peak of the shape of the corner. Again, lots of rotational throttle with this car. You look at the rear end kick in. Okay, so use the throttle to your own benefit. There's no need to be full throttle in between this corner complex, especially between 3 and 4. And disclaimer, if I mess up on some numbers, I apologize. But between 3 and 4, there's no need to be full throttle because it's not an actual straight. You prioritize maximizing the forces of the force the force distribution on the car on the tires. So if you had the limit of the tires and you're not full throttle, that means you're carrying more speed than somebody who's having to go full throttle to go to T4 because they undersped, so they have to give more torque or more power to the tire to match that distribution. So if I can be at the limit and not full throttle, and the car is balanced, okay, the car is 50-50, so I'm not understeering or oversteering. I'm carrying more speed than someone who's not doing that and who's full throttle at the limit. Again, full throttle right before the curb, because at some point you want to be full throttle. Um, but the whole point is here, right about here. There's no need to like stab on it. And a little lift across the curb. You will get a 1x here if you take it too much. And also, this curb is very beneficial in terms of track usage because it's a whole half a car width away from the racetrack, so you can open up your corner a lot. However, be careful when you land. You're gonna have to lift a lot to align yourself with the entry of T5. If you're too aggressive with the transition, you'll actually either oversteer or end up too deep on the entry of T5, and you want to be aligned with the curb right here on entry. This corner is very tricky in every car. Lots of oversteer. Because again, similar to T3, it's a little banked away on the right side here. And also it's a long, slow corner. So the moment you apply the brakes, you didn't carry a lot of speed on entry. You were from a low speed, 140 kilometers an hour, and then hit the brakes and turn. There's not a lot of aero support in this corner, so very patient with the steering here. It doesn't look like it, but my car's sliding, which is not good. But with steering patience, I can hold it. So right about here, that's a lot of angle. And you can see that I was sliding because the moment I put the power, look at how much the angle reduces, but my car still turns. And then I get a little kick of oversteer on exit. So that's for T5. T5, where to clip T5 for apex, you'll see there's a dent right about here. The sharpest part of the corner is at the end of the corner. It's a late apex corner, so you want to roll on throttle before that dent. And that gray patch is a good reference as to where to put your car. You can use that line right here and be on the inside of that line once you cross the patch. Sorry, I'll just play it in slow motion. So yeah, inside of the line when you cross the patch, and then you go clip the apex. Running on exit, do not touch this high part, or if you do, it's a bit too late. You'll end up in the sand. You want to aim the end of the high part right here, and then you want to roll this solid part. You don't want to roll the solid part for too long or too wide because you will end up in the gravel or the sand in this case, and it will slow you down with the new model. And then T6, you want to hug the white line. It's free time. T7, you want to brake before the 4 cones. However, you want to be patient with your braking because there is a bump. And as you can tell, I load up the brakes easily, and then I get into them once I'm cleared the bump. So that's the idea behind this braking zone, is that you need to modulate your braking with respect to the track surface. And if you're attacking a heavy bump, you can brake as hard as if it was flat. So I'll play it one more time in slow motion. I'm rolling, I'm hitting the bump, and then I'm on it. So that's the idea. Holding close to the limit, releasing the brakes as the speed decreases as I'm doing corrections to not lock up. And then the turn in for this corner is very important to not turn in too early. Otherwise, you lock up the front because the track dips down right about that part of the corner. And the moment the track dips down, your front right tire is unloaded. You actually want to use this crest. It's a crest that spans like this, right here where my mouse is. You want to use this crest to actually rotate your car. And to do that, it's okay to turn in. I wouldn't say it's a late turn in because it's a mid corner apex. It's quite even with the shape of the corner, so you want to hit it in the middle. But on entry, don't be scared that if you turn in a bit later, you're gonna miss the corner. It often happens that if you turn in too early, you're gonna miss the corner because of the front lockup. So see right about here, right about the crest, and again with the braking, right about the crest, right as I'm about to attack it. You see the correction here, got off the brakes. It gave me a lot of rotation. I'll play it in super slow-mo right here so I can give you a play-by-play. So now here I'm releasing the brakes, I'm holding, I'm making a front lockup correction. Here another correction. Now here, the kick of oversteer, the moment I get past the crest right here, I'm on it. And then I'm using it again, controlling the oversteer. Then I'm almost off the brakes. And the moment I touch the curb, right mid corner, is where you roll on the throttle and use the throttle to carry rotation to avoid hitting that patch of sand to the limit all the way on exit. But just be careful that if you touch the sand, it will slow you down. Or it will actually give you a 1x in this case. Onto Cunningham, or T10, I believe, in terms of numbers. You want to brake again before. Okay, this corner is quite tricky. I'd say it is for you to find out where you want to brake. My recommendation is in between 4 and 3, but to make in between 4 and 3 work, um, you need to delay your downshifts. If you're too aggressive with your downshift, you're gonna kick over steer. You could also almost brake at 3, but that would be a bit too late. So it is for you, depending on the conditions. These are my conditions, but it is for you, depending on the conditions, to find out where you want to brake. What I will say though is that um, I'm not to the grass, so that's one mistake, and I'm turning left and then turning right, so that's a second mistake. So I should be to the grass. However, uh, the exit angle of that corner is very crucial because there's a bump here, right about here. Car's gonna lift. We're just gonna hear. We're gonna play it with sound. You're gonna hear the engine of the car. That's that's something that you want to avoid. So you don't want to be understeering right over here. So that's why it's important to not brake too late for Cunningham, and it's much better to roll throttle. As you also have to hold more or less the middle of the track, more left side, but you want to be away from the exit curb because you need to make the double left-hander that's right after it. I wouldn't touch the curb. In hot conditions, I did when I was at 50 degrees track because there was no grip and I needed to use track space. But in those conditions, you don't need to. The car grips. Just make sure that whenever you attack this corner, if you're too deep on exit of that corner, be patient with throttle. You're gonna burn your rear tires trying to fully make this corner flat if you don't have the right angle and entry, and if you don't have enough space as well from the first left-hander. Then double apex, it's okay to make a little bit of separation on the second one. What's very important is you're gonna see, and a lot of people don't do that. And even in real life, that's something that a lot of people should do, unless you have a really high-powered car and you can't bring it across in time. Bring your car across to the left as soon as possible. As I explained in tutorial 1, in this tutorial I explained it again. If we have a corner and we have a curve, if I narrow the curve down, I'm carrying less speed. But I don't need to move the exit and the entry to narrow the curve. I can just have the same curve, but narrow the entry. So if you're trying to hold this curve right here, you're just narrowing your entry to tower, which is the next corner, which will inherently make you go slower. If you go wide and then brake with a better angle to tower, a person going flat here and a person going flat here, it's only 200ths. Like it's not that much of a difference. However, entering tower like this or entering tower like this is probably 3/10, 2 to 3/10 easily. Um, so yeah, I'm braking right about the 3 cone. What's important with tower is the moment I'm here, I have my eyes on tower. Right about here. It's important to spot your corner before the corner actually happens. One good reference is this change in tires from white to blue. It's about where your apex is going to be when you're approaching right about here. A bit later, but usually it's more of a question of timing. The moment I approach right here and I can't see it, I'm looking at the tires. I'm like, okay, my corner's over there. And then right about here, I'm looking at the actual corner. And it's right over here. We can't see anything, I know. With muscle memory and a lot of laps, you will be able to picture yourself. No, you will be able to picture the corner in your head. Braking at the 3 cone, using all the track on entry. And then the key with tower is you don't need to late apex it per se. What's very important is you don't understeer mid corner. There's a lot of grip on the inside of the corner because it doesn't look like it, but it's a little bit banked towards the inside. However, on that split line, it's actually banked away. So it's okay to just treat it as a mid apex corner. And also, you can roll on power sooner than the apex, which you should, but in this case, a lot sooner, as you can tell. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a lot sooner, but what I'm trying to say is you can use a lot of throttle to roll on exit, and have a stable rear on exit, because there's a compression past apex, right? Um, and there's a lot of grip all the way till exit. So the big issue with this corner is there's a lot of people that send it too wide and catch a lot of oversteer here because it crests down. And then once you catch the oversteer, you get off the brakes and then you understeer. And then the moment it compresses, it snaps on you. That's not what you want to do. So it's okay to just turn in normally. So not a late apex, not an early apex. Just turn in mid. You could even turn in early apex and kind of get away with it, but you still have to trace an arc around the corner. What's important to avoid is the kick of oversteer on turn in because you turn in too late or you turn in too hard, and then the understeer mid corner, which I'm not getting here. Look at how patient I am with my steering right here. Patient, 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 patient. Just avoid understeer, then roll on power, and then bow. Straight off exit. Now just modulating the power. A light smudge of understeer, but I only get it on power, and I don't get the snap oversteer. So that's how much grip there is on exit. I roll on power, and with this car, you're supposed to oversteer when you roll on power. And I actually understeered when I rolled on power because of the compression. So you want to use that to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. That's something that's really important to understand, because it could be either very detrimental or very helpful. For the beginning of Le Mans, so Le Mans 1 and then Le Mans 2, I think. I know, 15, 16. Yeah, so T15. Before we go to T15, as you approach T14, I believe, you can use the whole curb. Just don't use too much because you get a slowdown. This is a bit of time on the table. It's like a 500ths, more or less. It helps. And also it helps aligning the car for the next corner. You know, because you don't have to do a whole arc and cut back. You can just cut in and be closer to the white line when you land back on the track. Braking right about the 3 cone. And then what's important here is don't be shy, as I'm totally not doing here, doing the wrong example. But don't be shy to turn in a bit early, because the track is banked away. If you turn in too late, you'll just miss the corner. And also, as you turn in, you're trying to target your right side tires to be on the right side of the curb, because it's free time on the table. It's more track usage. What's really important is you don't eat too much, so go and find out where the slowdown limit is, because there is a slowdown here and there is a slowdown in the next corner, and they're not forgiving. They're very very harsh slowdown penalties. And also, I just want you to appreciate how when exiting that corner, it's a small straight, so just be patient with your throttle. Just roll speed. Your focus is just to roll speed and to hold the balance of the car. Notice also how I'm using the throttle the moment I get on the curbs to stabilize the car. Um, that's also another tip that you can use to your advantage. Up and forth, and then as I attack the entry to T16, the important thing is this is a left-hander. You do not need to be flat. It's not a straightaway. Okay, lift, lift to open up for the next corner. It's like a braking zone, but it's a lifting zone. It's fine. Like I see a lot of people just trying to make this flat and then break into the next corner, and they're too much on the right, or they're eating this curve too much and the car becomes unstable, or they're killing their tires and they don't have the right line. Look, I'm on full throttle for a few meters and I'm off. See? And I don't get back up. Like I'm off just to align the car and to use as much of this curve as possible, because on iRacing you can jump it. And then I jump it. And once I'm past it, I never got up. I never got up throttle. So your braking zone really starts from here, right? Just aligning the car is more important than doing this full throttle. Once you align the car and you start braking, this is very banked away. You can see it here from the car a little bit. And the hill, there's like a little crest right here. So this compression will give you a lot of rotation until you approach this part of the corner. And it's very easy to oversteer for no reason in T16. What I'm trying to say by for no reason is that if you have the track that will give you rotation, you don't need to apply as much brakes as you would if it was flat. You can use that crest to your own advantage. So the goal in T16 is not to slow down the car; it's just to control the weight and to be able to roll on power as you approach the curbs to get a good run for the backstretch. So again, very light braking. Look, I get the kick over oversteer right about here. I'm already off the brakes, and I'm going to roll on power way before the curb because of the way I align my car. Again, right wheels on the inside. I could have cut a bit more, and also as you put your right wheels on the inside of the corner, just be careful. Your wheels are in the air. Don't roll back on full power too early, or don't roll back on full power when your wheels are transitioning in the air. It's a split second, but you have to be patient with how you distribute torque to the tire, because if it's spinning in the air and then it lands, um, uh, yeah, not good. So also another thing too, you don't want to understeer onto the curb because then you just understeer forever, and then you're gonna hit the grass. So yeah, roll on power before the corner. If I play it just 1x slow mo, you'll see the kick of oversteer as I get past the crest. You saw right here, right before the throttle. And then easy exit all the way till the grass, but don't touch it because you'll slow down. Onto the back stretch. And then T17, the corner. The 2 cones is a good reference. Okay, I'll break right about the 2 cones, but again, just like most of the fast corners in this car, it's much more about pitch control than brake control. Here, I'll overbrake the car. I wouldn't do that. I'll show you a good T17 real quick. This one was, I believe, pretty good. Let me see. Yeah, I think that was the one. Okay, so about the 2 cone. Don't brake too hard. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, let's go. Let's do this one. The key is your corner starts here. Your corner doesn't start mid-corner. So now you're already turning. So it's all about visualizing that arc in your head where you're saying the middle of the corner is actually not underneath the bridge. It's right about here. And you can go on Google Maps and make a top view, satellite view of the racetrack. You'll realize that the entry as you approach the corner is much wider than the exit in terms of curvature. So that's why you kind of late apex this corner. I in GT3 cars, there was a time where I was running the yellow line, but because I had a lot of braking capability, this car can't really brake and it has a lot of downforce. I've noticed the more the downforce you get in the car, depending on which car you take, like an LMDH or something, the wider people run, just to carry more cornering speed and not to have as much braking work. That's why in this car, I personally found out that it's much better to run all the way to the white line and roll cornering speed, because it can hold cornering load much better than it can hold braking load. Also, another thing about this corner, it's very important. There's a crest right about here. If you overbrake above that crest, you will understeer. If oversteer, sorry. And if you try to over control your oversteer and you got it, so you get off the brakes aggressively, you will understeer here. If you understeer here, you all understeer all the way to here. Here you hit a bump, so you snap oversteer, and then you understeer again, or you oversteer uncontrollably right to the wall, or you burn your tires, or just not a fun scenario, or not fun scenarios. So yeah, it's a lot of steering patience. It's a lot of weight control. I'm not using it. The moment I touch the white line, I'm not barely using any brakes. Just because I have to slow down, but much more because I have to control the weight of the car. I can't put too much on those, but can't put not enough. And again, also the throttle. A lot of throttle control, a lot of steering control. To the wall underneath the bridge. Right where it peaks right here, the blue wall, the transition blue to white to the wall. Everything else I wouldn't recommend to be to the wall, especially here. I haven't tested it, but it just doesn't feel right. I believe I did a few laps and it just didn't feel right. But if you find out that it feel right, please let us know and let the people know. And if it's better for you, if it's faster for you, then by all means. do it. The most important thing is the angle that you should get right here is even with the wall. Right about, not even with the wall, but I mean even with the corner as a shape. And rolling on power right before that wall, so you can comfortably play with the power and be full power all the way on exit. And be careful when you roll on exit. There's a dip, and then it lifts. That dip will push you into the wall. It's okay to run to the wall, but I mean, yes, run to the wall, but your timing should be right at that bump, because otherwise it's too late. And in this corner, you want to be full power. Like, I'm not gonna give you a distance, but you want to be full power before the wall. If you're still playing with the throttle uh, at that much speed, especially right here, if you're still playing with the throttle, whether it be for oversteer or understeer, you're just burning the tires. It should feel like the limit of the car, but it should feel like the limit of the car on full throttle. And there's a little bit more limit I could have used here. But the idea is that if you look at my car right here, it's sliding a little bit. There's angle to it. So yeah, that's it for T17, and that's it for the guided tour or the tutorial 2 of the BIS Radical. Sorry, that's it for the BIS Radical Cup Series tutorial 2. If you have any questions, please write them in the Discord. Any setup complaints, any driving questions, or anything there may be. And yeah, we're wishing everyone a good race.